Thank you for spending a few minutes with us today before camp gets started. And we're going to go spring practice, I should say. And we're going straight into questions. We'll start with David Ferrones from the Sun Sentinel. David, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're doing well. First, I guess let's start with the quarterbacks. What are you looking for out of those three guys that'll get a huge opportunity this spring with the De'Ara King recovering, and your early impressions of Jake Garcia, although I understand he's going to be limited?
Yeah, I'm just really excited for all three of those guys. For Tyler, for Peyton, and for Jake, and even Ryan Riss to get out there and just kind of go play, and compete and see them get the most reps they've gotten since they've been here. All those guys get reps at times with the guys that are running with the ones, and just kind of go lead and be the guy, and just all that comes with that, and see how they respond, and how they respond to good and bad in practice, how they respond to scrimmage type situations. And, I think at the end of the day, there's still a lot of unknown, obviously for Peyton and for Jake. And then while Tyler's had a phenomenal first year here, kind of give him a chance to go, get the bulk of those reps and see what he can do.
Coach, we're going to go next to Chris Stock at Inside the U. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I was curious about the young receivers that you have coming back for their second season. Any of those guys that may be standing out in the offseason, mat drills, things like that, and then also just maybe what you're hoping for to see in spring ball here with those guys?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that stands out to me about those young receivers, and if I'm correct on who you're talking about, like Keyshawn Smith and Xavier Restrepo and Daz Worsham and Michael Redding, is they love ball, man. They're gym rats. And, they love it when they're in the weight room. They love it when they're out throwing with the quarterbacks. They love the meetings. They love everything about it, which is really been fun to see. Those guys, they're close, because when you come in with a class, you kind of get close to the guys in your class. And to watch, really all of our wide receivers are working extremely hard, but to watch kind of the guys you asked about, the way they work, that's been pretty cool. And, again, the same thing really you asked about the quarterbacks and now the receivers is I'm just excited to watch all our guys go compete. Competition makes everybody better at every position. That's what's cool about spring, is it's about us. It's not about getting ready to go play somebody in a few weeks. It's honestly, we're excited we get to go against our defense in practice, because when you go against a good defense, that makes you better. But it's not even about them. It's about us. And it's about us getting better, and it's about us internally, all our guys competing to make each other raise their level. And so I'm excited for those guys. They're all healthy. They've all been here a year. They've kind of got their feet wet. They've got that part over with, and now they can go compete and really show what they can do.
Coach, we've got Susan Miller-Degnan from the Miami Herald. Susan?
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Last year was so strange. You didn't know your spring would be cut off after 4 practices. Does that in any way affect your planning and general perspective, the way you intend to do things this spring? Knowing, even when you look at Manny said the NCAA basketball stuff, all kids are still getting COVID, and how do you deal with that?
I think you can never obviously let your guard down, even though we're all hoping we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with this deal. And obviously, because we haven't been in a season for the last 2 months, it could be easy to do that. But so you can never kind of just assume anything right now, I think. We learned that last year. You can't assume that you're going to get the next week or even the next practice. At the same time, basketball's had good success this year for the most part. And obviously football, we were able to have a season. And so our guys know the protocols. We know how to go about it. I think we do a good job of here with the protocols and keeping people safe, and our kids have bought in. So like everybody knows, you can do everything right and have a positive test. So it's, but we've been through it, and spring is no different. We know how badly we need these spring practices and this time to develop and improve. We have no reason to believe we're not going to get to do it all. But again, you just take it one day at a time, and I think just keep doing what we did that allowed us to get through our season and play 11 games.
Can I have one quick follow?
Sure.
The quarterback situation, can you talk a little bit more specifically about Jake? I know he's being limited, and in what way and why, and also we don't hear much about Peyton, Matoka, and Tyler.
Yeah, with regards to Jake, Jake had a minor injury to kind of his foot in his senior season in high school. And he played through it the last 5 or 6 weeks, and, they won a state championship. So it was nothing major that he couldn't play. And so since he got here, we've just been trying to do things to try to help that situation totally heal to where there's no issues or setbacks. He's progressing each week. He'll be out there with us on Monday, and just and when we say maybe a limited capacity, but he'll be throwing, he'll be taking reps, and I have fully expect him to continue to improve and do more and more as the spring goes on. And so we're excited about that. I don't think at this time there's any reason to believe there's any major issues there. With regards to Peyton and Tyler, I'm really just excited to get to see him. I mean, look, I'm going to learn a ton about him myself. They've worked extremely hard. Both guys have at least been in our system for a year, so they have an idea what they're doing. But there's no substitution for real reps, whether it's with the ones or the twos or a scrimmage. And those guys are that's the blessing of this spring, with De'Eric being out. Those guys are going to get more reps than they ever would have gotten to grow, develop, and show what they can do. And, Peyton's a really athletic kid. There was a time during this season in COVID world that we were losing so many guys. Literally on a Tuesday or Wednesday practice, he went over and played safety for a day. I mean, he never done it before, didn't know what to do. He did okay. He was back with us the next day. Fortunately, our depth was okay, but he was preparing to do that. That's how athletic he is. And he loves Miami. He loves the game. And then obviously Tyler just has something about him. There's an intangible trait about Tyler. Yeah, he can throw the football well, and he's a talented athlete, but there's just something about him. He just does everything right. He competes hard. The guys love him. He carries himself like you want a quarterback to carry himself. So I'm excited to see him get those opportunities as well.
Thank you.
Coach, we're going to go next to Manny Navarro at The Athletic. Manny?
Hey, Coach Lashlee. Two questions. Hey, 2 questions for you. First one is on the quarterbacks. The second one's on tight ends. The quarterbacks with De'Eric King, obviously, you want him to be able to at some point come back and have time to work with those receivers before the season starts. Is there a date in your mind? Have you heard any dates as far as when he might be able to actually begin, working 7-on-7 and so forth? And just the importance of getting that in before the season starts.
Yeah, it's a great question. Obviously very important. De'Eric is doing exactly what anybody who knows De'Eric in the last year would do, and he is doing a phenomenal job with his rehab. Everything is on track. He's probably exceeding expectations in a lot of areas. So, and that's not a shock to anybody here. I just kind of, when it happened, I knew, okay, well, I almost in a joking way was like, well, what's the record for the fastest guy coming back from an ACL? Because whatever that is, he's going to beat it. But fortunately, we don't have to rush that process, and we're not going to. But he's doing great. And, I don't have a date. The doctors, I can't speak for them. They haven't given us a date that they would clear him. But I would fully expect that, by this summer, he's able to throw with the receivers and do 7-on-7 and do all those things, May, June, and July that we would want him to do leading up to a fall camp. I just, unless we have some unexpected setback, I don't see any reason that won't happen. So from that standpoint, I feel really good that he's going to have plenty of time to get ready going into fall camp.
And then just as a quick follow about the tight ends, obviously Will's not going to be here for the spring, Coach told us. I know Elijah Arroyo's on campus. Just if you could talk about that group in particular and what you hope to get out of them. Obviously with Will out, I know he's going to be the top guy, but just those guys and those opportunities.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to same with De'Eric. De'Eric and Will, they're your veteran guys, the guys you have done it and proven that they're reliable. And sure, you'd love to continue to develop chemistry and those things with those guys. But with Will being out, it's kind of like De'Eric. I'm really excited to see, can Larry Hodges, can Dom Memorelli, can they take a next step and really, now that opportunity without Brevin or Will out there, what can they go do and what kind of jump can they make? And because we're going to need them this year, even if Will's back and healthy, we're going to need those guys to be successful. You mentioned a guy like Elijah Arroyo. He's a guy that we have high expectations for. We think he's going to be a really good football player here and fits what we want to do. And so it just kind of, he's a little bit like Jake in that some of these high school guys that come in mid-year, they're coming off of maybe being dinged up here, they're coming out of high school. And so you don't want to just throw them in there until they're totally ready, but we're hoping we can get some good work out of him in the spring and see what he can do. And And then, we still have a tight end that's signed that'll be here this summer, and Khalil Brantley. And then even Michael Parrott, he's not really a tight end. He's not really a running back. He's kind of a throwback fullback. And we're even going to use him this spring and try to find a good role for him because I think he can help us.
Awesome. Coach, this is the last one for you. We got Daryl Streeter from Footballville. Daryl, go ahead for Coach Lashlee.
Coach, real fast, in your experience, year 2 in your offense, what could we see? Do you usually see an up in points? Do you add some more wrinkles? What will we see in year 2?
That's a great question. I mean, yeah, we would love to see an uptick in points and really everything. But I think, you can focus on like the result, like, hey, we want to score more points in year 2 than we did year 1 and all that. That's great. But what's the process that's going to get us there? And I think the biggest thing that you would hope to get in year 2 in general is just more consistency. Guys are comfortable. They understand what we're doing. So if we're a little more consistent, we can execute at a higher level. And then on top of it being not only year 2, but year 2, when in year 1, we didn't get a full spring. We didn't have a normal kind of off season. This is really the first time we're getting a normal spring, we hope, and summer to really install it. But in fairness, though, our guys are ahead of the game, right? We played a season. And so I would like to think that our guys, there's several phases to ball, in my opinion. First of all, you got to learn what to do. Okay. And then you got to learn how to do it. All right. But the third level and the hardest level to get to is the why, and our guys in year 1, we did a good job. I think our staff did a good job. Hey, this is what your job is. This is the scheme. This is what you do. And this is how you do it fundamentally. I think we can improve on the how, in terms of just getting better fundamentally. We should know what to do, but now why? Like, why does this play work? How does everything go? How does this guy's job affect my job? And I think when our guys get to that level of understanding the why, it just gives them a better understanding. They can execute at a higher level and kind of think more like the coaches do. So I would hope we can take that step. And, just the biggest thing for us is if we can do that and execute higher level and be more consistent, the biggest thing we got to do, we just got to have fewer negative plays. And that was killer for us all year. That's a number that has to go down. And, I think if it does, you'll see hopefully our consistency improve and maybe all those numbers you were talking about will go up.
Great. Coach Lashlee, thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us today before spring ball gets started. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
Thank you.